and welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to be building on what we achieved in the previous lesson. We're going to take the basic techniques that I've already shown you of 1, 2, 3 and 4 card readings, and I'm going to expand on them and develop some spreads from those simple readings that are a little bit more complex and can answer some of our questions in more depth. So, taking my tarot deck, what I'm actually going to show you first is a technique that's probably quite widely used. It's one that I began to use myself actually after I started using Lenormand cards, which are another type of card divination. One of the common ways of using Lenormand cards is in a 9-card grid, and that works very well with the tarot as well, particularly if we're building on the 3-card reading technique that I showed you in the last lesson. So what we're going to do is we're taking that 3-card reading, past, present, future, me, my partner, and what joins us together, any of those kind of 3-card combinations, and we're going to multiply them by 3 again. The original 3 cards will form the centre row of our card spread, but with the extra 6 cards that we're going to add another row of 3 below and 1 above. Now let's, for argument's sake, say we're performing a past, present, future reading. The centre row is in effect the most important row of the reading. That is really telling us about the here and now, what's led up to it and where it's going. But if we add in another row below, we can get some more information from that. Let's spread the cards out, and I'm going to select 9 cards at random. When you're doing this, as I've said previously, don't think too hard. Just let your hand walk and just take the cards from where you feel they should come from. I've pre-shuffled quite heavily, and as I said before, when you're shuffling, take your time, relax, bring yourself into that quiet meditative space that is actually going to be conducive for your reading. So I've got my 9 cards. I'm going to lay out my middle row first. 1, 2 and 3. Now in this case we're going to call that past, present and future. Left to right, my left to right, it will appear the other way around for you. Okay? Second row underneath. This is going to tell us a little bit more. Past, present and future, but these are the things that in our experience we have some kind of control and influence over. Okay? So, past, present and future as it is. Past, present and future, the things that we can partially control and that come within our influence. And then the final row above, past, present and future, the influences that are above and beyond us, the ones that we can't control. Okay, so let's see what we've got. Let's take this on a hypothetical question. This is a kind of question that I've been asked on numerous occasions when I've read for clients. Let's take it that the person that's being read for has recently come out of a relationship breakup. This is a reading where we're looking for direction, where to go next, how to handle the fallout from that breakup, all of those sort of things. Okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the centre card over first. Centre card, centre row. This is the crux of the matter. It is in effect the present, and we've got the 2 of Pentacles reversed in its dark aspect. So if you think of the 2 of Pentacles as being harmonious change, the dance of life, what this is saying reversed is perhaps there is stagnation here. Nothing is really changing and moving on. So let's look at the image a little bit more carefully. There's another connotation in the two. The pentacles are held together within the lemniscate figure of 8. Now that can be a good thing if we're looking at this in its upright and in its positive. In its reverse, we're looking at its dark aspect. Actually, what this is saying is maybe both parties haven't moved on and are still connected in unhealthy ways. Okay, so let's have a look to the left at the past, what's been going on. Oh, right. A reverse 10 of Swords. So we've actually taken quite a dark aspect card, and by reversing it, it's got a lighter aspect. This is the 10 of Swords is about ruin, about endings. So this speaks very, very clearly into the situation of the relationship breakup. By inverting it, we're showing that perhaps there is a new beginning here. Now, this is a double-edged card, and it highlights something very important in all readings. This is down to interpretation. You can see the sun rising here. Now, maybe the positive moving forward is actually hinted at in the upright. If we reverse it, is that the end of suffering, or is it the fact that, again, things aren't moving on in the way that they should do? The sun isn't rising if it's reversed. Let's reserve judgment on that. We've got both meanings. We'll reserve judgment until we see what's going on above and below. Okay, so let's have a look at the card of the future. And we've got the 8 of Cups reversed. Now, this really is the moving on card. Now, if it's reversed, that indicates that in the future there is a possibility that people aren't going to move on as quickly as they need to. So I would say that actually with having these 3 cards reversed, the reversal of this is actually much clearer. So I would say that what's going on here is leaning more towards the negative. The second possibility that we discussed, that actually this has been an ending, but the sun isn't being allowed to rise. Okay, so this actually seems quite negative. But then even from what is a dark set of 3 cards, if you're presenting this to a client, if you're reading for someone, this can reflect back some very powerful realities that can be learned from. And actually, is that negative? Depends on how it's received. Let's try and clarify that. We're going to look below at the 3 cards dealing with the things that were within this person's sphere of influence, the stuff that was partially within their control or they could have influence over. So in the past, I've got the Fool reversed. So the ultimate new beginning reversed. What this is saying is this person could have moved on, you know, but they didn't. In the present, we've got the Queen of Pentacles. So that wonderful, loving, healing, nurturing, caring. Okay, we're trapped in this reversed 2 of Pentacles position at the moment, in the present, for this person, but it is within their control to show themselves and their ex-partner self-care, respect, nurture, and this kind of capacity to begin to heal the wounds. Okay, let's have a look at the future card, what they can potentially control in the future. Okay, we've got the reversed 10 of Pentacles. So that failure of good fortune that this in its reversal represents, that is in a position that can potentially be influenced or controlled by the person you're reading for. So let's have a look at these 6 cards now. This row of 3 is now making a lot more 3-dimensional sense. We have an ending but an ending where there isn't really any resolution and nobody's actually feeling the benefits of being able to move on or break away from each other. That is partially down to, and in fact that's probably a lot down to their own responsibility. This reversal of the Fool, this failure of this false start, this failure of a new beginning, that is under their control. That's their choice. So it means that, painful as this is, there is a certain amount of choice involved. Okay? Let's have a look. Again, in the present, this failure of change, the fact that they're still connected to each other. They can be nice to each other. They could actually heal the wounds if they chose to. That doesn't mean to say it's easy, but this figure is a benevolent, caring, nurturing figure. And again, to become her is a choice. Okay? In the future, again, there's this potential failure to move forward from something that everyone should recognise has reached a natural end. Now, that has consequences. But again, those consequences are within the control of the two parties here. You know, this is not an inevitable outcome. That's something that actually you can do something about, which means that this is something you can do something about as well. Okay. Let's look at the top. So this is the things, these three cards are going to highlight things where these two people are potentially out of their depth and they just have to run with. Okay? So, in the past, the Two of Wands, the potential for this situation, control of this situation, dominion over this situation, this was potentially out of their control. So that takes us into the realm of, let's be a little bit kinder to ourselves again, or as a couple we need to be kinder to ourselves. If some of this was partially out of our control, if it was above us, if it was simply down to stuff that we couldn't cope with or we didn't have the capacity to cope with, don't we need to be kind to ourselves and actually allow ourselves some resolution? Okay? In the present. Oh, the Five of Cups, the regret card, the disappointment card. We can't turn back the past. We can't turn back the wheel of time. We can't change the past. These three cups have already been spilt. Okay? So, yeah, there's the two unspilt cups and there is a wonderful path ahead, a river to cross. But actually, we can't undo the damage that's done. You know, we can heal it, we can rebuild from it, but we can't undo it. Interesting, isn't it? So, when you look at that failure to change, if we're going to move forward from this failure to change, it has to accept and embrace the damage that's been done beforehand. We have to leave it, move on from it and forgive it if we're going to go anywhere. Now, isn't it interesting that that brings us right back to her. Be nice to each other. That's the only way forward. Okay, one more. What's potentially above and beyond them in the future? What's out of their control? The Three of Cups, one of the happiness and celebration cards, you know. There are no guarantees in a situation like this. In a complex relationship breakup, and with this in a position where it is potentially above and beyond the control of the parties concerned, what it says is happiness, celebration and happiness not necessarily guaranteed. What it also says is maybe that's not the most important thing. I would say the most important thing in this reading is the Queen of Pentacles. She is the sort of charity and care component of this reading. So just look at that. Look how much information we've expanded on through taking that basic past, present and future reading, in this case in a relationship context, and just by adding in those extra rows to show what's above us and beyond us and what's within our grasp. This, if you're reading for yourself or if you're reading for somebody else, this is a fabulous little reading. I would say for helping you to understand your own limitations within any given situation, and also to help you to set goals. Okay, so that's our first expansion. Let's try some more. Let me just randomly pick these in here. I've decided for these readings I'm going to work with reversals, mainly from a teaching point of view. Very often I don't read with reversals, but if I'm reading for reversals within these examples, it will hopefully give you an idea in all of these readings of the light and the dark. Again, reversals, use your own discretion over that. As I've said in other lessons, you can read everything upright, and then you can take simultaneously, you can take both aspects and decide which one fits the best. That's not always straightforward, as you've just seen from that reverse Ten of Swords. We again had to look at the context of the other cards to see what was coming through with that. But there you have it. So I'm now going to take that principle of having 3 rows, but we're going to take it a little bit further. Again, this is a good one for relationships, not necessarily romantic relationships, even if you're in a work situation and dealing with an individual, or it's a friend or just someone you're dealing with in everyday life. This is a good reading for helping you to understand the dynamic that's going on between you and how you can work with that. What we're going to do is we're going to go back to the 3-card reading where we use the cards to show partnership. We have the card on the left, which is denoting you, if you're reading for yourself, or the person that you're reading for. The card on the right denotes the person they are connected to or having to deal with. And then the card in the center is the common denominator. It's the glue of the relationship, so to speak. Now, we're going to expand from 3 cards to 5 cards in a row. This time, rather than just selecting a single card for each person, I'm going to draw 2 cards for each person. That's going to give a more nuanced view of what's going on for each of those individuals. We will have a 5th card, the common denominator, in between. And then, as I've just done, we're going to have a row below and a row above for the same reason, to show what is under, what is potentially controllable and what comes under your influence, and the things that are kind of over and above that you can't necessarily control. Okay, so we've shuffled. I'm going to do that again. Let's really jig these up and down. There we are. Shuffling gently, meditatively. Actually, I find shuffling quite hypnotic, and it does calm my mind and bring me into the space where I have the inner stillness that allows me to work with the cards and see my own reflection or other people's reflections in them. Okay, what we'll do for this one, we've got 3 rows, so I'm going to cut the deck into 3, and I'm going to have a pile for each of those 3 rows. So, having cut the cards, I'm going to randomly place those in the positions. So we've got 5 cards, 2 on the left for person A, 2 on the right for person B, and the connection card, the denominator, okay? So, this bottom row, the things that can be controlled, in inverted commas. The middle row, where things are at for these 2 people now, in the present. And the top row, where things are at in the present, but actually factors and influences that are operating beyond their control. And in that case, the centre card is how that impacts them both and how they stay connected within that. Okay, so again, we're going to turn over this centre card. The common denominator between these 2 people is a reversed 5 of Swords. So the 5 of Swords is the defeat card. Now, if that's reversed, that's potentially quite positive, because that speaks to me of the healing of division or the moving on from division. Let's have a look at person A. Okay, we have a King of Pentacles and a reversed 3 of Swords. So at least with person A, this is somebody mature and practical. It's somebody whose ill fortunes and heartbreaks are actually being turned around, and that is confirmed at least by this. Let's have a look at person B. Okay, a reverse 2 of Swords and an Ace of Pentacles upright. So this is a very positive connection, I would say. Person B, reverse 2 of Swords. This is somebody who is coming out of denial, I would say. Primarily, they're represented by the Ace of Pentacles. So it's somebody for whom there's a new beginning in a material sense. They're turning a corner both practically and materially. Interestingly, that could be the manifestation of somebody coming into their life, possibly him. We've got the King of the same suit. So there's 2 people whose fortunes are actually being reversed for the better. One is there is this gift from the realm of earth being offered to them, and as if by magic, the other person is the king from the realm of earth. So is this potentially a new connection? It could be. Maybe the couple or the people that we're reading for here have only recently come together from circumstances that were difficult for both of them individually prior to this. So, but whatever the case, the connection is looking healthy, okay? So, if this connection is going to be strengthened, let's see what they can control within their respective lives. Okay, for person A, the Queen of Pentacles, the King's partner. Okay, so that says that actually this person has a great deal of influence over this person. Okay, the Moon reversed. Upright, this is the subconscious and the emergence of all of our subconscious fears. Reversed, this is the repression of fear. Now, I would say that's their choice. You know, if this is here, that is their choice. Maybe this is a safe space where they have to choose to trust. Maybe they have to learn this is a safe space and a safe relationship, despite previous hurts and previous relationships going wrong. This is the one where they can be safe to turn this card upright and let their fears and insecurities emerge. Okay, let's have a look at person B. Aha, reverse Tower. Okay, so upright, the collapse of an unsustainable situation or structure, the breakout from a prison, liberation. Now, if we look at it from the liberation point of view, reversed, this is again, it has a similar flavour to this, shying away from our inner fears, refusing to come out into the open because we're frightened of what might be there. Both of these are under control. This actually, more and more as I look at this, we're looking at a relationship that is potentially a safe place to talk and be honest. Okay? Also under control. This is a reversed Eight of Pentacles, the card of putting your skills to good use. Now, maybe there is a stagnancy with person B, within their work, within their belief in themselves, in their creativity. Remember that the Suit of Pentacles has played very, very heavily within the way these two people are represented within the reading. So I would say that this speaks of a lack of self-confidence in their own ability. That is within their control. That's a personal choice. Again, this is a safe place to begin to open those things up. Okay? Right, top row. Let's have a look what we've got. This is the things that are beyond these two people's control. So I'm going to look at person A first. A reversed Four of Swords and a High Priestess. So, let's look at this one. The reversed Four of Swords, the truce, the retreat and the rest card. You know, this is kind of retreating into a safe place to lick your wounds and recover. Now, what that says is that actually maybe this situation is moving too quickly and person A doesn't always have the choice to rest and retreat when they need to lick their wounds. So that also says that they need to rely on person B for the safe space, you know. Also, they can't control the influence of the High Priestess. The hidden mysteries, the unforeseen, the need to trust in the intuitive and not the rational. And if she's there where that person can't control that influence, again, it kind of has that slightly perilous thing of actually having to throw yourself into the unknown, step out of your comfort zones. Not easy. Okay, person B. Upright Magician and upright Page of Cups. So, the upright magician, the transformative principle. You can't stop change. You can't, in this case, certain things that happen within this relationship and with the people that are within this dynamic are beyond person B's control. This is actually one of those cases where, again, you've got to step out of your comfort zone and maybe allow yourself to be transformed by the circumstances. You can't fight this figure in this position because it means, again, personal change is inevitable in that case. Now, also with person B, what is beyond person B's control is the Page of Cups. This represents an emotional adolescent. So, for argument's sake, this maybe if this refers to their partner, it means that although person A is very mature practically and technically, they may not be that mature emotionally, and you've got to give them the space to grow. Or maybe this is person B's own immaturity. Now it's upright, so it means that it's in a positive aspect. This again is the growth process that they have to go through, but they can't control. Okay, so let's have a look at what is tying them together. Strength reversed. So I would say in its upright position, the woman has very firm control over the lion's jaws. In the reverse position, what that says is these two people share a common vulnerability. And I think that comes through in the rest of this reading, because the bottom row is about being vulnerable. And that actually takes us to the last card that we haven't turned over. What connects them in the realm of what they can control? Temperance reversed. Okay, so I would say here, maybe this Page of Cups speaks about the emotional immaturity of both parties, because there is a common denominator of instability connecting them both in the realm that they can control and in the realm that they can't control. Temperance reversed, I would say that shows that there is no emotional equilibrium at the moment. Things are going in a positive direction, and it's actually safe to let out your vulnerabilities in this situation and to be honest about your vulnerabilities. That also means being honest about your immaturities. So, and in the realm of what they can't control, it shows that actually this is not always going to be plain sailing. It actually could potentially be quite volatile at some stage, because the fortitude that allows for emotional restraint and control is maybe not completely in place yet. So overall, looking at this centre row, we've got a practically mature person having come out of a position of heartbreak, but for whom that is turning around. We have a person who is actually being offered practical security. So I would say that that comes from person A. Now they are also in a position of beginning to turn their life around. They're coming out of denial. The common denominator is they're both coming out of situations where they lost out, where they were the loser. So what they can control, what's shown here in this bottom row of 5 cards, shows that it's safe to be themselves. It's safe to begin believing in themselves. But the top row is showing us that actually this is not always going to be a comfortable process, and they will have to step out of their comfort zones. So there you have it. That's 2 more techniques for reading that we've just been through. These are building on the basic building blocks that we had in the last lesson of the 1, 2, 3 and 4 card readings. What I hope you've gleaned from this is I've taken the 3 card reading and then I've expanded it into a 5 card reading, and we've then added these 2 extra rows. Now what this shows you is that you can do that with a 1 card reading, a 2, a 3, a 4 or a 5. You know, you can draw a single card in the center to show where things are at. You can draw another card above it to show what's out of your control, and one below to show what's in your control. These readings are brilliant for getting a handle on the present, but it's a basic principle that you can apply to any number of cards. And I hope from this little demonstration that it's shown you just how much more nuanced your reading can become, and how much more personal insight you can gain from employing this slightly more complex technique. So I hope that's been helpful. I hope you've enjoyed it, and do join me for the next lesson, where we'll be exploring probably the most iconic and widely used tarot spread that's ever been created. A lot of you will have heard of it. It's the spread called the Celtic Cross, and it is, I would say, probably the best all-round reading technique. So thank you for coming this far. I hope you've enjoyed this, and do join me for the next lesson. If you've enjoyed this lesson and found it helpful, please hit the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel to find out when I share new videos or go live. You can also find me on Instagram at Chris Butler Artist, on Twitter at Butler Tarot, and on Facebook at The Sacred Tarot. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.